Today on Train Town, we visit the SSRNT, a unique DCC HO scale layout built in the crawl space of Dennis Ritz's home.
It's HO scale, which is one of the most popular scales in the model railroad hobby. If you can see on some of the locomotives, the company was SSRNT, Silver Springs Railway Transportation. They bought this 300 miles of line from CP Rail, so this is a short line handling product between CP and Union Pacific. It's basically a prairie scene. It does mainly grain hauling, a little bit of miscellaneous goods for shops and stuff. Previous place to this, we lived in Birds Hill, and if you've seen the gravel pit there, it's called Silver Springs Park. So I use that as the beginning of it, and railway, and it's supposed to be in this trucking business. The guy has a lot of money who fictitiously owns this railroad, so he does a lot of stuff other than trains, so he has trucking company too. The one over here is Carterville. That's my grandson's name is Carter, so it's quite often you find that model railroaders do that. The one up front of the management pool elevator is Louisville, which is named for my wife. Actually, I have one in the corner there. It's a cement plant, and that location is called Dakar, D-A-K-R, which stands for my daughter's initials. Well, it was kind of interesting when we moved from Birds Hill to here. There I had a full basement, and there was 8-foot ceiling and stuff like that. And we moved here, and I was walking around, and all of a sudden, as we started unpacking, I said to my wife, I said, "What did I do? Where am I going to put my trains?" So I was down in the dumps, and all of a sudden I was down here, and it was just used for storage. So I said to her, "Do you mind if I build my trains down here?" She says, "No problem with that." And then I've expropriated territory on the other side. It's enlarged slightly, but I would have to go back probably 40 years. It's typical of probably a lot of model railroaders. They start with your dad buying them a Lionel train set for Christmas. And I can think back to when I was 5 or 6, that's what my dad bought me, a passenger train set, which I wish I knew where it was today, but it got, one of the moves Mom and Dad did move, it got lost. And that was just a matter of things that I liked, and as I got older, I didn't really get involved in the hobby when my teens or early 20s. It was more late 20s, and my dad worked for 38 years for CPR, so and we always lived close to the railroad tracks. And I guess I just got a bite before the sound of the diesel starting up and that kind of stuff. This one's probably been done for about, I'd say between 16 and 20 years. We've lived here I started it shortly after we moved here. The unfortunate part is when you move around, you just barely get to the point where you like your layout and you move, and you got to start all over. But I made up my mind this one was probably going to be our last house, which is right, but it's not the last place we live. Well, a lot of the rolling stock and the locomotives would probably, I'll try to sell them to fellow club members, or some of it I will keep, because the Gateway Western, you've seen it, it's HO, and as a club member I can go run on there, so I take some of this from home and bring it back. The rest, basically all the bench work, garbage. It's whatever I can save, I will, but I didn't build it as a modular unit where we could separate this one from another one. I didn't do that. In retrospect, probably in hindsight, I should have done it that way. But then you go and move to an apartment, you're not going to take have the same kind of space that we have here. When we moved to here, and I started thinking about a railroad, I said, it was just in the era of DCC coming onto the market. And I looked at the pros and cons and the features. I said, hey, no DCC, no DC, it's going to be DCC. And it makes it much more prototypical, doing it the way the real guys do, because I can run one locomotive behind the other in different directions, and it's really handy. It's fun to run. And then when sound came out, that's another step. That's a big step forward. Well, I know when I started off, it took me about a year or two to really get into the groove of building it. It's pretty well all built by myself. Some of the buildings I purchased, other than that, there's weeks that I would spend probably, it would equivalent to 3 days down here in pieces, in increments, and 3 hours one day, but to put an hour on it, number of hours.
Years.
Yeah, it's 16 years.